previously, our protagonist was reborn in another world as Pastry, son of a local noble named Casserole. Their village had recently been raided by a group of bandits, but thanks to Pastry's copy magic, he copied the injury of a random person to all of the bandits, and with that cheat skill, their village was saved and all of the bandits were captured, but the village had taken some major damage, so the cost of repairing the village had emptied the treasury. So Pastry plans to create portraits of young noble children looking for arranged marriages in order to save their on-traveling cost. So they begin their portrait business by attending the coming-of-age ceremony of Duke Cattlesek's grandson in the royal capital, but Duke's grandson, Squale, gets nervous being the center of attention. The Duke changes the subject and asked Pastry about his sanctification ceremony. Pastry confirms that he had gone through that ceremony and got blessed by magic. Duke was impressed that both father and son were blessed with magic, so Duke wanted to witness his magic himself. So Pastry took a cloth from a servant and painted a portrait of a girl with his copy magic. Squale immediately falls for the girl. Her name is Petra, and she is the third daughter of Duke Margrave Huberek, but due to border tension with the neighboring nobles, the House of Huberek was unable to attend Squale's party. So Casserole lays a message from Duke Huberek and asked Squale and Duke Cattlesek to attend Petra's own coming-of-age party. Squale agreed right away. But Duke Cattlesek realized Pastry and Casserole were attempting to set up a marriage, so he gets alarmed by Pastry. Squale was ready to attend Petra's party, but Cattlesek showed his concern of traveling, so Pastry solves that problem by saying that Casserole will help them with his teleportation magic. Squale was so into Petra, so Pastry tells Duke Cattlesek that Duke Huberek might be setting up his daughter's marriage to gain military power from the House of Cattlesek to end the border tensions. Cattlesek realized this and decided to attend Petra's coming-of-age ceremony with Squale, so, while Casserole and Duke were having their own conversation, Squale approached Pastry with a request. He was a little shy, yet he still asked Pastry to make Petra's portrait a little sexy. Pastry understood that man will be man no matter which era or world it is. So, with this successful matchmaking, their money problem to build up their village gets solved and the village started getting rebuilt again. Then Pastry comes with the letter from both Cattlesek and Huberek. It was the payment of 20,000 silver coins for Casserole because Petra and Squale agreed on marriage. And additional, they got 30 gold coins to guard Petra during her coming-of-age ceremony, because their neighboring nobles might try to harm this union. So for that purpose this engagement was kept a secret, but church might leak this information if they are bribed with money. So protecting Petra will prove difficult while also providing assistance to her other guards, so Pastry gives the idea to keep Petra inside the sanctification room. Casserole liked this idea and set this as their main plan. Then on the day of the engagement, they meets Petra's father Donikel on his estate. They were ready to get to church. But inside the carriage Petra's twin sister Licorice was accompanying them. Pastry tries to make a light conversation with Liko, but she ignored him. 'Cause she thinks everyone likes her sister more than her. Then aside from that, their plan was to teleport Petra from local church to the church in capital. And they'll lock her inside sanctification room until engagement is announced. Then they gets to the church, but there's some bandits attack them. Casserole is a natural talent of combat, so he fends them off with Huberek. Then they goes to basement of the church, but the way was dark, but at the end, they gets to the sanctification chamber. There everyone hold their hands and their Casserole used his teleport and transferred everyone to the church in the capital. But there was a fallen noble named Armire who had set his sights on kidnapping Petra, for which he hired a top dog of bandits to complete the job, while on the other hand, there were many noble that came to attend Petra and Squale's engagement. But Petra was getting a bit nervous for this marriage, so Pastry tells some praises of Squale's character to make her relax. And then comes the time for Petra's sanctification ceremony. Then their Galcage and Fight comes to inform them that even the backwater noble have come to curry the favor of the two dukes. But Fudd had made security preparations ahead of time. As for Pastry, Casserole tells him to accompany Liko because she seems too tensed. Pastry gets to her and suggests her to take a break in the guest room. But Fuddy teased Pastry again because he's going to be alone with Liko. As for Amire, he was ready to exact his revenge on Mattlesek, but the Cattlesek had made rather tight security for Petra, so there's still a chance that someone from this crowd might become a threat. But Fug is more interested in Pastry, because he's all alone in the same room as Liko, but Casserole doesn't have any worries because Liko got her maid with her. Sarah was serious type, so Pastry tried to make things easier with her, But she didn't seem too friendly, so Pastry stopped himself from making any conversation. But then Pastry heard some noise coming from beneath the floor, and suddenly a giant hole appears out of nowhere. Pastry and Liko fell into it. And Casserole and Fug immediately gets there. Hearing this noise, they saw this hole, and Casserole told Fug to contact Duke Cattlesec, and jumps down the hole. It leads him to a mansion. But then scene swifts to Pastry. Strudel was keeping an eye out on them, so Pastry thinks of stalling time because they were after Liko. Then she regained consciousness and got scared. But Pastry gives her some confidence, and after that, when Strudel left to meet a Meyer, Pastry acts as an innocent heir of a rich noble to trick that guard to offer nice ransom to release him. That guard took his bait for a bit but stopped himself from falling for Pastry's offer. Seeing that behavior and the rundown mansion, Pastry understood this should be a work of a fallen noble who wants his noble status back, so beforehand, Pastry, Casserole and Fug had made a list of all enemies. And the one who fits the bill in this situation was Duke Meyer, so Pastry took off his ribbon and wrote a message, which he sent to Casserole to tell him that the Duke Meyer was behind this. Casserole then plans to round up as many men as he can from the church and sends Fight to Duke Cattlesec to get more reinforcements, but on Pastry's side, Strudel tried to harm Liko. So Pastry tried to step in. Strudel was pissed off because the girl they kidnapped was the twin sister of Petra, and the engagement they wanted to ruin proceeded smoothly. So Strudel wants to destroy the evidence by killing Licorice, but Pastry had already taken care of his guard to hold him off until Casserole gets there. But with that, episode 5 and 6 comes to an end, so if you like this anime and wants to watch more of this, then please tell me in the comments section.